Welcome to another conversation on hope. I'm very excited for you to meet my friend Wendy. So Wendy just has so much excitement and such a great attitude, even in the face of some challenges that you've had in your life. So I'm super excited for you to share your story with us. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I'm just going to jump right in for the sake of time. And I want you to take us back about 25, 26 years ago. You were expecting your first child and you were very excited. You'd had a great pregnancy, great delivery. But after the delivery, you kind of sensed something was a little off with the medical staff. So tell us about your story and the story of your son.
Okay, I'd love to. So he was born and my husband had gone out to do the bath and their bonding time. And it wasn't very long that he was gone, and he came back into the room, and he just kind of looked off. And I remember asking him what was wrong, but he wouldn't say anything. And everything just kind of got quiet. But I had just had my baby, so I was kind of on a high and excited, and had an easy delivery. So I was just excited to have many more children because it was so easy. But so I noticed it, but I didn't really notice it. And then it was about 3 hours later, we were sitting in my room, and the pediatrician that was on call that night, she came walking in, and she was carrying our baby. And I thought, okay, she was in her scrubs. I can still see it quite well. And I thought, okay, what's going on? Normally they come in with the baby in those little carts. And she was holding my baby, and she just sat down in a chair at the end of our bed, and she asked us how we were and told us that our baby was really a beautiful baby. And then she proceeded to tell us that she thought he had Down syndrome. And my heart sunk. I was not educated on Down syndrome. I knew very little about Down syndrome at that time, and what I did know, it was scary for me, and I didn't want to hear that. She shattered my world.
Sure.
And so I asked her what made her believe that, and she started to list off all of the symptoms. They have a gap between their toes. They have a thicker neck, smaller ears, very low muscle tone, and they have a simian crease across their hand.
Interesting.
And I could have an explanation for everything that she was calling out, but she was just trying to very calmly make us, still be excited about our baby, but give us the what could be. So she started to leave the room and said she was going to leave us so that we could talk and have this time. And she asked if I wanted to hold my baby, and I was in a whirlwind of emotions. And I was just I said no, not right now. She turned around and started to walk out with him, and that tiny little piece of me was leaving the room, and I went, wait, no, bring him back. So my husband at that time and I just sat with our baby and tried to absorb what we had just been told. And we're just looking at this beautiful little boy and thinking, what? Our world has just gone into a tailspin.
Wow.
And so the next morning, we were all in my room, and we had called our families, and everyone from both sides of our families had come to visit and see the baby. And my doctor come walking in. We were all crying, and he said, "What's with all the tears?" And my ex-husband said they think the baby has Down syndrome. Well, he had absolutely no idea, when
The doctor didn't?
Right.
Oh, wow.
When they do that test after the baby's born, and Matt had actually rated pretty high, and so he just couldn't believe what he was hearing from us. So he proceeded to ask us what we knew about it, and of course, none of us knew anything. And he said, well, I can tell you right now that this baby is going to bring you great joy, and you'll probably cry every day of his life, but you will have happiness with this baby.
Wow.
And of course, now we don't want to hear that we're going to be crying every day of his life.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that at the time. And then he asked us what we were going to name him. And we were going to name him Brock. And even after he was born, I kept calling him Brock. And I liked the unique names. Well, he asked if he could offer a suggestion. He said, might I offer that you call him Matthew Brock or Brock Matthew? Because Matthew means a gift of God.
Oh,
and you
wow.
will find he will be that gift to you every day of his life. So it took a few days, we hadn't even really discussed it. And I remember he had jaundice really bad, so they had him in the ICU and hooked up to the bilirubin, all those tests, the lights, sorry.
Mm-hmm.
But they would bring him in to me during the day, and I would just be, loving my baby. And I didn't know any different. I'd never had any children. He was my first. So, and to me, he was just so cute and so lovable already.
Right.
And, I had nurses that were coming in and asking, are you okay? Can I get you anything? Because we had officially checked out of the hospital, but we were renting the room so that we could stay there. So they were sneaking us supplies and bringing us treats and stuff, even though we had checked out. But I'll never forget this one nurse that came into my room one day, and I just had Matt on my bed, and she said, I need to give you a hug. And she said, I have all these moms on this floor that are my patients, and they're all crying because they're no longer pregnant, or because they're still, haven't lost their baby weight. And of all my patients, you're the patient who has reason to be crying, and you're my happiest patient.
Wow.
And I didn't know how to take all of this, because I didn't know any different, I just had this beautiful little baby in front of me, and I was just, trying to think the doctors were wrong, and trying to enjoy these moments. So.
Interesting.
And he became Matthew.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, the lady came in with her little typewriter, and she's like, I'm here to do the birth certificate. And I went, Matthew it is. And he has been a gift.
A gift
every
from
day.
God.
Yes.
Oh, but now not everybody has been that supportive. Like, haven't there been some people that kind of assumed a few things about your situation?
Well, when I was in the hospital, we had a person come in, a representative come in, who represented the Down syndrome community in the Valley. And, she just tried to make sure we were okay and let us know we were okay and reassure us that everything was going to be okay and that there was support out there for us. There was also another, I don't know if it was a social worker or who, but they came in and they caught me off guard because they said they were there to talk to me about adoption. And I thought they had the wrong room, or I was confused by what they were doing there, and they told me they were ready to help me, start getting ready for adoption, because there's a lot of people who want these children when these parents don't think they can handle it. So I was pretty offended by that. He was my baby, and I, as nicely as I could, asked them to leave my room. I know their intentions were well. I know there are some parents out there who it may be too much for, but for me, they needed to leave because my life was going to be fine.
Matt was your baby.
That's right.
He's your little boy.
That's right.
Oh. All right, so let's fast forward just a few years. So Matt's 3 years old now, and you had life kind of throw you another curveball that you weren't expecting. So tell me what happened 2, 3, 4 years old.
So when Matt was 3, his dad and I ended up getting divorced, and I was left with figuring out what was I going to do, how was I going to take care of this baby by myself. I didn't know what I was going to do financially to take care of us. I didn't know what I was going to do, you know, as far as support went. It was all kind of a day-by-day thing. I ended up, you know, I didn't want to move. We had just built a home, and I didn't want to move because it was a stable environment for Matt. And at that time, our house payment was, you know, about what rent was. So I just wanted to keep him in this stable environment. So I ended up getting a couple additional jobs on top of my full-time job. And I did that for a couple of years. At the same time trying to, you know, make sure Matt's my priority and I'm not putting him on the back burner, and I'm still focusing on getting him, you know, what he needs, you know, doing his physical activities with him, his little schooling with him, you know, so.
So you're working full-time, you're a single mom, working full-time plus other things on the side. Do you feel like you had the support from family and friends and the Downs community that you needed, or was there not as much support as you were expecting?
I have an amazing support system as far as friends and family go throughout these years. I mean, my friends, my friends and family have gotten us through the toughest times, definitely. As far as taking care of Matt, there was a lot of rough times.
Right.
You know, you find that you're having to make a lot of sacrifices. It's not as easy to find a babysitter for somebody with special needs, you know, kind of, I think it tends to scare people off, you know. Even though there was no reason to fear Matt or be afraid of taking care of him. But it was definitely hard. I won't lie.
And what about the Downs community? Like, did you have the social workers and the programs and the special schools and after, you know, daycare activities that, I mean, did you feel like you were supported in that way?
Fortunately, in the school system, they kind of, you know, guide you along next steps where you should be, you know, as far as physical therapy, speech therapy, all that. I did seek support in the Down syndrome community, and I was able to get some there. I poured a lot of my heart and soul into that so that, you know, I could be around parents who knew what I was feeling, and have Matt around their children as well.
Right. Well, that's amazing, because it's hard enough to be a single parent, a single mom, let alone, you know, someone with special needs. Not that every child doesn't have special needs, but
right.
You know, I mean, we all know that every child has needs that are unique.
Right.
But I mean, that's kind of a double dose on your part. But then when Matt was in junior high, you kind of had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
So tell us about that a little bit.
So I met an amazing guy. His name is John, and Matt calls him his escape dad.
Love it.
And what's amazing about John is that when you're in the situation, you're in the situation. He's able to think outside of our little world. So when I get a roadblock and I'm not sure how to handle something with Matt, he's able to very calmly come up with ideas that we use to help teach Matt or to get through those hurdles.
Right.
So, and he's been, you know, that's a huge responsibility for another man to take on. It's one thing to take on a child that's not your own, but a child with special needs, because there's a good chance that this person's going to be living with you for the rest of your life. So that's a huge sacrifice. Yeah. So he's a saint. He's a little blessing in disguise. Huh?
Good.
So, one of the many.
One of the many. Yes, I believe that. Fast forward again. So Matt is 25, almost 26, and he still lives with you, right? Do you anticipate that he will always live with you? Or do Down's children become independent? Do you want Matt to become independent of you? Or kind of tell us a little bit about what to expect in the adult years for Matt.
Okay. So when Matt was young, and like I said, I didn't know any different. In my mind, Matt was going to drive. He was going to work. He was going to get married. He was going to live on his own. There's no, if they can pass the driver's test, they can get a driver's license. Okay. I wasn't going to set limitations for my son, in other words. As he's gotten older, my goals for him have kind of had to shift because of the world. So would I love for Matt to live on his own? Absolutely. If that's what he wants, I support it. The thing with Matt is he loves his family. And right now, he prefers to be with his family. And I think it might, at this point, put his world into a little bit of a tailspin if he were to suddenly be living with people with special needs, but it's not out of question, if it's what he wants down the road, great. Can he drive? No. I won't let him. He doesn't even want to, he says that's the parents' job. But it's reflexes, all that. Yeah. Work, we're experiencing some things right now with him as far as some physical things. His comprehension is kind of starting to suffer a little bit. So we're working on trying to figure out what's going on. So until I know what's going on there, we're not really pursuing that right now. We're just doing our best to keep him busy. So he goes to, it's called the Learning Center, twice a week. It's a great facility. They are out in the community volunteering. They go on little field trips. It's within a company, so they're helping the employees within that company. They have little exercise programs. They encourage, getting involved in the local news. So they have their own little curriculum there, and he really enjoys it. We've had him involved in karate. He earned a green belt in Kempo, and he's volunteered in the summertime at an adaptive summer camp. He loves to go to the library. He's on a bowling team with the alumni at the school he graduated from. So he's done Special Olympics bowling. He's done Special Olympics horseback riding.
Oh, wow.
So he's really participated in Special Olympics as well. So we just do our best to keep him busy. We don't want him to be a couch potato. We like to constantly try to stimulate his brain, just keep him busy.
Well, I'm going to make two comments on that. Number one, that's a huge kudos to you. And in talking with you about Matt's story and your journey together, I have just been so invigorated and energized by your energy and your attitude. I mean, you are just a bright light to everybody you come in contact with. So that doesn't surprise me at all that you have him involved with all of these activities. But the second thing I wanted to ask was on this learning center. So Matt's going to be 26. Like, is there an age limit as to how long he can be involved in that? Because sometimes it's like, okay, you're at this age, you need to move on to the next thing or be on your own.
And that's the great thing about this facility. The gentleman who started it, his name's Mark, his daughter had, you're right, our children do outgrow the school systems at 22. Okay. And so he was in my position. So he started this little center because of his daughter.
Okay, so the founder has a daughter, so he knows exactly what everybody's
and there's
going
not
through.
an age limit. It's a need. We need to know what to do with our children. What can we do to keep them active? What can we do to make them productive citizens? Not to be a nuisance to society. And so, thank heavens for him catching that and starting this facility. And Matt's made friends there, and they're just. It's a great place.
It sounds like a great family. Community.
Yeah.
But you've done a lot in the community. and to raise awareness for Downs. So talk to me a little bit about what you're involved in and what you're doing to raise awareness, because October is Downs Awareness Month, right?
Yep.
Okay, so talk to me a little bit about what you're involved in.
So I don't want other parents to fear what I feared those first few days of Matt's life. And not just days, probably years.
Yeah.
So I started a blog a couple of years ago just sharing my story. I just felt like I had so many funny experiences with Matt that I just needed to write them all down. And I wanted to share them so that when there were new parents, they could see that, here's this young adult out in the community, he's funny, he's touching lives along the way. And when you have this baby, there's no reason to be afraid, because it's just a lifetime of blessings and great joy. So I started this blog, and then a couple years ago for Down Syndrome Awareness, which is in October, I started a website. Okay. It's a work in progress, but I've just been putting information out there on my site about Down syndrome, and my blog is on that site as well. And then it's about our life. I just want it to be kind of funny, and Matt is a funny kid, so.
But it's also got general information about Downs,
Yes,
so that if
correct.
people don't know about Downs or what to expect if they have a Downs child, they can go out there and at least get some resources and get some background as to what it is and what to expect.
Correct, yes.
So how do we find it?
It's just wendyhooton.com, WENDYHOOTON.com.
And Tears Every Day?
Yes, but you know what? I had no idea back then they were going to be tears of joy, because everything with Matt has been about celebrating. We celebrated when he learned to tie his shoes. We celebrated when he learned to put his socks on. We celebrated when he could do up his zipper on his jacket. We celebrated when he got 100 on his spelling test. We celebrate, Special Olympics. We celebrate when he touches a stranger. We celebrate now that he's doing well with his CPAP. I mean, it's just been a lifetime of celebrations and a lot of tears, but tears of joy.
Tears of joy. And I think we can learn something from that. I think we all need to be celebrating more. And you mentioned, it's keeping life simple. Like, we get so complicated sometimes. It's like celebrating those little teeny milestones along the way, and it doesn't matter how old you are when they happen. Mm-hmm. We need to be celebrating and lifting each other up.
Right.
So what do you hope for now for the future for Matt and for you and the rest of his life?
Well, for Matt, I really hope that he reaches his greatest potential. We have worked really hard, and I just want him to be the best he can be and to be the happiest he can be. I think we're definitely on the road to the happy part, but Matt surprises me every day. He's got so much going for him, and so I want to bring that out. And then, like I mentioned, I hope that nowadays people aren't as afraid as I was in those first few hours. His birthday is bittersweet because it brings back those moments, and they were so sad, and yet it's been a life of happiness. And so I don't want new parents to be afraid. I want them to know that they are in for a lifetime of joy.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
You're going to give a lot of hope to a lot of moms and a lot of parents out there and raise awareness for Downs. So thank you, Wendy, my friend.
Thanks.